One of the biggest bats in the Cardinals lineup is making his return. Ivan Herrera is officially back.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio, as well as the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We're on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that notification button so you don't miss out on anything. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram. We're everywhere. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans of baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed at Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. So it's May the 9th, and the Cardinals are at 500 on the year, which I know doesn't sound great in the grand scheme of things, but there are some good things to be proud of when it comes to this team. First off, nobody thought they were going to be at 500 at this point. Most people thought they were going to be awful, and some people had them picked to finish last in this division, well below the Pirates. So how's that looking so far? They've won 5 in a row. 3 of those over the Pirates, but 2 of them over the New York Mets, one of the best teams in baseball. They're also tied for the league lead in wins at home. They've got 15 of them. The Dodgers and Royals are the only other 2 teams with that many. Pretty good teams, I would say. The Royals have been on a heater recently, and of course the Dodgers are the Dodgers. Plus, they're now tied with Milwaukee for second place in the division and are 3 games back of Chicago. We've been talking a lot about how good Chicago has been so far this year and how well they've played against some pretty good talent so far on their schedule. And there we are, 3 back behind the Cardinals, or behind the Cubs. It hasn't been all pretty. Obviously, there's been some ugliness going on. Obviously, Boston was bad. Playing the Mets in New York, that was bad. You've seen some gross stuff, but the Cardinals have been playing better. Let's be honest. And I know they played the Pirates, who are not a good team, so let's not get out of control, but you can still celebrate winning when it happens. And they're going to be getting one of their best hitters back in the lineup for Friday's game. It was officially announced today that Ivan Herrera is back, which is fantastic news for the Cardinals. He's back after leaving the series in Boston with that bone bruise in his knee, a scene that was really, really scary when it happened. You saw Ali helping him off the field, training staff helping him off. He couldn't even put weight on that leg. And my mind goes to the worst place possible when that happens. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he blew his knee out. He tore his Achilles. Something horrible has happened. And luckily for the Cardinals, it wasn't more severe. And he's going to be back with the team in Washington. At the time of the injury, Herrera was batting .381 with 4 home runs and 11 RBIs. The numbers were nuts. His OPS plus was a ridiculous 309. His OPS 1.506. Slugging was over 1,000. His OBP was at 458. The guy was clobbering everything, and he was just getting hot. Like he was coming off the 3 home run game. Like he was just starting to turn the corner and really take off. And then the injury happened, which knocked him out for about a month now. Down in Memphis during the 6-game rehab assignment, everything looked good. 9 for 23 with a home run, a double, and get this, 2 stolen bases for Ivan Herrera. And I bring that up. He didn't have any at the major league level, but I bring it up because that's how well he was running, is that they were sending him. If they were concerned about his ability to run, they would not be doing that. And yeah, they were there. They were like, take off. And a couple of stolen bases for Ivan. So great sign for his recovery from this injury. The question now is, how will the Cardinals deploy him in the lineup? The corresponding move was sending Luken Baker down to Memphis, which, that sucks for Luken. You feel bad for Luken Baker. He hasn't done anything wrong. Hasn't done anything great to retain his spot on the major league roster, but he wasn't getting a lot of at-bats either. So it's a tough spot for Luken to be in. He goes back down to Memphis, but at the same time, it's going to clear that DH spot for Ivan Herrera, to be used there even more often now. It's clear the Cardinals are not interested in rushing Herrera back behind the plate on an everyday basis yet. Why would you? Why do you don't need to do that? So why would you? Keeping 3 catchers, some people think it's a dumb idea. We made fun of the Cardinals for doing it last year. But this is a different circumstance. This is probably a precautionary thing. That way Herrera can just kind of ease his way in to catching a little bit more. And it's not like the catchers that the Cardinals have have sucked or anything. Pedro Paz has been excellent behind the plate. He was excellent behind there last year. He's doing very, very well. This is what was expected. Some of the offense you've seen from Pedro, a little added bonus, but he's come back down to earth a little bit. But also you've seen the emergence of Joel Pozo as a steady backup. He's been a nice surprise as well. I dare you to say you knew who the hell Joel Pozo was when this season started. Okay? Not a lot of people did. But the pitching staff has worked really well with Pozo, and the bat has played quite well at the major league level thus far. It's a limited backup role, obviously. 39 plate appearances. Pozo's hitting .316 with a dinger, 3 doubles, a couple of RBIs. He doesn't strike out, which I love. He doesn't walk either, but he's only got 1 strikeout. He's only got 1 walk, but he puts the ball in play. When he's swinging the bat, which he does frequently, he's got a vicious cut, which I respect. He puts it in play. He makes things happen. So why not keep him for now? What's the harm in having a little insurance for Ivan Herrera as your catcher? Baker was only playing first base and DH, and right now at first base, the playing time is full. Wilson Contreras, Alec Burleson. That's it. You don't need another one. So having this extra catcher on the roster just makes a lot of sense right now. And after Herrera is back fully, you hope that it doesn't bother him anymore and everything is good to go moving forward. You can look at where the roster is and make any necessary changes or upgrades if that's what you need to do. Swapping Herrera's right-handed bat for Baker's right-handed bat, that's an upgrade. That's an upgrade. We're not downgrading there. And it's not like Baker is played better offensively than, Pozo. So it just makes sense. It makes sense. Ivan Herrera is DHing in Friday night's game. Nato is back in the lineup as well, so that's good news. So a healthy Cardinals team headed into this 9-game road trip that begins in Washington. Now, some pundits are already talking about trades. And despite the recent success of the Cardinals, they're listed as one of the teams that are being mentioned as candidates to partake in such deals, but as the team that's giving up the commodity in exchange for prospects. They got things that other teams want, teams that are more than likely headed to the playoffs over the Cardinals. So there's been a couple of things brought up. I want to discuss 2 of these trade ideas for 2 of the biggest names on the Cardinals roster. We'll get into that next on Locked On Cardinals. Whether you're gearing up for back-to-back meetings, you're shuttling the kids back and forth to activities with, baseball, softball, soccer, all of that is going on right now. Or maybe you're tackling an endless to-do list, or the honey to-do list, as us guys call it. Your morning sets the tone for all of this. That's why it should start with the perfect cup of coffee, crafted just for you. Enter Trade. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the United States, delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters, whether you're a cold brew fan, which is me. I like the cold brew in the summertime, and then I like the hot coffee when it gets chillier out. Or you can be a pour-over purist. They've got a roast that you're going to love. That's the whole thing, is they've got something for you. It seems like everything is more expensive these days too, right? Doesn't it feel that way? So I personally always want to get my money's worth of whatever it is I'm buying. And I love that Trade coffee prices are comparable to grocery store brands, but the big difference is that the flavor is on a whole different level. It's so much better. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. That's TRADE.com/LockedOnMLB for 50% off your 1-month trial. drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. Check it out for yourself. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Maybe you didn't. Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required, which is nice. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're set and ready to go. You're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football, which was awesome when it returned this year. I'm excited for the new one to come out later on this summer. You still got Madden rolling on, but it's another, obviously one that you want to get into. But if you're not a sports person, that's okay. Maybe you're more of a Call of Duty person. That's fine too. Bottom line is you're going to be able to jump into these games as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribe services. Top places like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and a whole lot more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Now, most years, the Cardinals are the ones trying to find players on other teams' rosters that will help them improve their odds of making the playoffs and, winning that 12th World Championship, which, we really want them to get. It's been a little bit, right? But in this particular transition year, not many people are believers in the Cardinals. Even the Cardinals fan base. Most of them are not really subscribing into this, that these guys are going to go somewhere, despite playing much better recently, despite having a 500 record, but despite having some really exciting players on the roster. You go look at some of these other places and you're like, let's be realistic. Do the Cardinals really compare to what you're seeing in the NL West or, what the Cubs actually have when they're healthy? That's the thing. Cubs are starting to get injured a lot. What the Phillies and the Mets have in the NL East, are they there? Let's be honest. No, they're not. So many are believing that the Cardinals are going to be sellers at one point or another. Okay. And that shipping out some of their guys that are either at the end of expiring contracts or are coveted enough that other teams will take those contracts off their hands. As long as the Cardinals chip in a certain situation, they feel like that's probably going to happen. And the two headlining names that are being mentioned already are closer Ryan Helsley and third baseman Nolan Arenado. Now, they're two completely different situations, but both are guys that other teams are going to be interested in. Some other names on this roster to think about that might garner some attention. Steven Matz, who's looked so good. He's healthy, which is great. Phil Maton. Like, you want to keep him around, but it's a 1-year deal. So if somebody comes calling, you got to listen. Miles Michaelis has been throwing a whole lot better. If he continues this way, perhaps somebody talks to him. Is he someone a team would look at? Would Sonny Gray reconsider his no trade clause? Would Wilson Contreras? Maybe. All of those names are guys just to keep an eye on for sure, but we're going to focus on the Helsley Arenado stuff right now. Let's start with Nolan Arenado. The drama this offseason, had that trade done with Houston. Arenado vetoes it and invokes the no trade clause, which was his right. Houston moves on. They go and get Christian Walker instead. Boston was interested, but Alex Bregman chose to go to Beantown, and so that fell through. So Arenado came back. There wasn't places he wanted to be or wasn't that interested in. So it seemed like he was not only did he had a short list of places he would like to go, but he's more than happy to come back to St. Louis. He doesn't hate it in St. Louis. He likes it in St. Louis. It's why he wanted to be here in the first place. And so far this season, it looks like he's enjoying his time with this younger team. It's certainly not the championship caliber squad that he wants to be on. He would love to get a World Series ring, but this hasn't been some lost cause either. This hasn't been a season that's just been miserable for him to go to the ballpark like I imagine it was back in 2023 when it was really gross at Busch Stadium. The Athletics' Jim Bowden thinks that the Detroit Tigers would be a good fit. good spot for the future Hall of Famer. And these suggestions that he makes, mind you, he's saying that these are types of trades that he thinks these other teams should pull the trigger on now, not wait till later on down the road at the trade deadline when people are really going to start, competing with each other to make deals. He's saying that these are like, hey, if you can get this guy, I'd give him a call and see if you can pull this off here in May. So keep that in mind when you hear these. So, but here's what Bowden says in the article. This is the one dealing with Nolan Arenado. Arenado has a full no trade clause and has not indicated he would accept the move to the Motor City. However, perhaps the 8-time All-Star would reconsider the opportunity to join Detroit, a playoff team with one of the best and deepest 5-man rotations in Major League Baseball. Arenado is 34. He's having a solid season. He's batting .254 with a slash line of .254, .341, .402, OPS plus at 108. 9 doubles, 3 home runs. He's still a strong defender at third base, ranking in the 92nd percentile and outs above average, which measures range. His veteran leadership also would be invaluable to the Tigers, who have a young roster. If Arenado approves a trade to Detroit, coming up with a prospect package should be far less difficult than agreeing on how much of his remaining salary St. Louis would absorb. Entering this year, the Cardinals owed Arenado $64 million on his contract through 2027. The Rockies, his former team, owe him an additional $10 million over the next 2 years as part of the Colorado-St. Louis trade in 2021. But what they would get in return doesn't sound all that pleasing. Like, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're going to see these and go, what? Because here's what Bowden is suggesting that the Tigers send to St. Louis in return: 2 low-level prospects. He says 2 low-level prospects should be sufficient for the Cardinals, as this deal would be more about opening up opportunities for young players, such as Nolan Gorman. Perhaps a package of right-handed pitcher Josh Randall and third baseman Carson Rucker would work. Keith Law ranked Randall, who's 22 years old, a third-round pick back in 2024, as the number 11 prospect in Detroit's system. Rucker, who is 20 years old, was a fourth-round pick in 2023. Both are players who are currently at low A Lakeland. So, I know, because I know this fan base as well as anybody. I know that is not what Cardinal fans want to hear. Because when you see and think of Nolan Arenado, you're like me. We see him a little brighter and a little shinier than he probably is to other teams, but I see a future Hall of Famer. I see the same. I see and think about the superstar that the Cardinals got from the Rockies. He's not that guy anymore. And we all know that. We're all smart enough to realize that he is on the downside of his career at age 34, but he's still really good. All right, you could do a lot worse than Nolan Arenado, especially on the defensive side. He's nowhere near the dangerous bat that he used to be, that you would plug into the middle of your lineup that would cause fear in the other team's pitcher or manager. He's not that guy anymore. He's still hitting cleanup for the St. Louis Cardinals, which I think Ivan Herrera should be doing at some point or another. And you could move Nato down, but that's neither here nor there. Not going to go down that road yet, but eventually I think that's where it needs to be. But I think there's a lot of great qualities about Nolan Arenado that will be quite intriguing to a lot of other teams later on down the road. The Tigers being a team that would be interested, it does make sense. It absolutely does make sense. But on the Cardinal side of things, you're hoping that you can get a little bit more than a couple of low-level prospects in return, especially when he doesn't say that, like, if the Tigers eat all of this money and they take on the full contract, then you give 2 low-level prospects. Maybe that makes more sense, but he doesn't say that here because he says it kind of depends. But, you hope you can get more than that. The other trade idea that Bowden suggests is for closer Ryan Helsley. And this one, I don't think it's going to bother fans quite as much as the Arenado one. So we'll get into that one coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. I got in on the action last night with the Minnesota Timberwolves game against Golden State. I knew Steph Curry was out. I had high hopes for what the Timberwolves would do. Unfortunately, my parlay did not hit everything. I only got 2 out of 4, but FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've got a read on who's heating up in a certain series or in a particular game, obviously jump in, take advantage of that. Back it up with the same-game parlay. Jalen Brunson with the Knicks has been a monster lately. Have you seen what the Knicks have been doing? Like crazy stuff going on. Anthony Edwards was somebody that I was in on for the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. Didn't work out, rolled his ankle, and they ended up winning pretty big, so they didn't need him to score as much. So didn't do me any favors, but that's the stuff you're looking into when you jump on FanDuel and try to get involved in this. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Again, I am one of the hosts of that, so if you want to stop by. We see a lot of the late-night people, a lot of the Seattle and the A's and the Angels and the Dodgers and stuff, because we have to wait till the end of the night, and they all come in and they start talking smack. Where are my Cardinal guys at? Where are my fans? Help me out. Help your brother out. Help me. Help you. Anyway, Brian Helsley had an incredible year last year. Many, including Helsley himself, thought that he was going to be one of the guys that was going to be shipped out during this offseason because he was so good last year. And the fact that he doesn't have a no-trade clause. Final year of his contract. Probably going to cash in big time in free agency, right? All of these reasons made sense of why the Cardinals would move on this past offseason. Some argue that the Cardinals should be extending Helsley. Why let arm talent like this walk out the door? I completely agree. Why would you want to do that? The thing is, don't let this play out to a point where you don't get anything in return. Like, you don't want to hang on to him and then nothing happens. Right? Like, if he walks and he signs for big money somewhere else and you're just left standing there, you don't want that to happen. You're also not trying to completely punt on the season, but you're hoping that if things don't go where you want it to go with this team this year and the playoff aspirations start to fizzle, that you can get something good for Ryan Helsley. I continue to point back to what happened this offseason and then at the trade deadline last year as reasons why the Cardinals were smart to hang on to Helsley. It's a risk, don't get me wrong, but it was smarter because what happens if he gets hurt, or he becomes ineffective? Like, things happen, sometimes closers just blow up and then they're not that guy anymore. The value would plummet before you get to the deadline. And that's, worst case scenario. You don't want that. You don't want the injuries. But I brought this up in the offseason, this year. If Helsley stays the course and becomes the top available closer in July, the team could get a nice haul for him, the way the Marlins did from the Padres in exchange for Tanner Scott. And I know Scott, he's a left-hander, which is more rare. You don't find those guys as often. So price was up a little bit, but he was going into free agency. Ended up going to the Dodgers, and they still netted a heck of a return. And then you saw what Devin Williams got traded for to the Yankees. And I was like, I expected more. And then Devin Williams is struggling in New York, so maybe Milwaukee was on to something. But again, this trade that Bowden's talking about, this is for now. This is in May, so keep that in mind. But here's what Bowden says about the idea of trading away Ryan Helsley. Dave Dombrowski told me during an interview on the front office show on MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM that the Philadelphia Phillies have a need on the right side of the bullpen. The president of baseball operations made it clear that he views it as their biggest need. Their top righty reliever options, Jordan Romano and Orion Kirkering, have gotten off to slow starts. I think their top target should be Cardinals closer Ryan Helsley, who is considered one of the best in the sport. Helsley is an impending free agent, not expected to re-sign with the Cardinals, who should deal him between now and the trade deadline. Dombrowski and Cardinals president of baseball operations, Shem Mozeliak, are two of the longest tenured front office executives and have had a strong relationship for decades. So how about a trade of Helsley for pitching prospect Mick Abel straight up? Abel's 23 years old, was the number 15 pick and the first high school pitcher selected in the 2020 draft. He's been slow to develop, as it's taken him a while to find command and control of his pitches. However, he's off to a promising start this season with a 2.75 ERA over 39 1/3 innings at AAA. He's averaged 3.9 walks per 9 innings this season after allowing 6.5 per 9 last season. He's averaged 5.2 per 9 in his minor league career. Helsley is 30. He's a two-time All-Star who last year led the majors in saves with 49. He topped the NL with 62 games finished and logged a 2.04 ERA. This season, he's got a 3.75 ERA and ranks in the 97th percentile in fastball velocity. For the Phillies to give up Abel in this deal, it's only fair that they have a chance to extend Helsley at the time of the trade. So I'm assuming what he means there is that, like, hey, we'll let the Phillies try to work something out with you before the deal gets done. The question I go back to, because I don't think this is a bad return for Ryan Helsley. I'm okay with that. If you're not going to extend him and you're going to move on from him anyway, why not a first-round talent type of guy? You know, it kind of depends on how the Cardinals viewed Mick Abel in that draft. You know, if they think highly of him and think that this is something they can work with and mold, cool. You know, it can never have enough starting pitching. Can never have enough. The question I go back to is then I start thinking about, all right, well, who's the closer for the Cardinals if you do this? Kyle Leahy, been outstanding this year, but is he the final boss of your bullpen type of guy? Matt Swanson has been a closer in the minors. You've seen his stuff look good. You've seen it look bad. Gordon Graceffa got his first save. I still don't know what the Cardinals view him as, whether he's a starter or a reliever yet. Teen Kentz. Many have said that, yeah, he should be a starter, but the way his body is and the build, that maybe a relief role is something better for him. What about 6'7", 23-year-old Taiwanese pitcher Zinwei Lin? Throws 101 miles per hour. Has had some severe control issues in his past, but has gotten better. But 101. 101's nice. But to get a first-round talent in return would be nice. My thing is, I don't see the Cardinals moving him just yet. They already held on to him this offseason. So keeping him until the deadline is a more likely scenario. But obviously, the Phillies and the Cardinals are going to talk at some point. Other teams are going to want Helsley. Again, if he stays healthy, that's the big key. Even if his production drops off a little bit, they're still going to see what he has been over his career and still want him. The injury concerns is the one that I always get nervous about, because it seems like until last year, every year you're like, you know, on pins and needles. Is Helsley going to go down? So I think they wait. But these are the things that Jim Bowden has brought up. These are the things people are talking about. What are your thoughts on the trade ideas? I want you to drop your comments in the comment section down below on YouTube. Obviously, you can hit us up on X as well. What else would you want in return? Is this enough? Is it not enough in these deals? Do you want them to extend Helsley? Do you want them to keep Nato? Hit me up. We can discuss it for our next episode over the weekend. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. Oh, buddy. We are so close to 12,000 subscribers. If you are not a subscriber yet, oh, I need you. I need you. Help me out. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Supposed to have a crossover episode with Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals after the series wraps up on Sunday. So looking forward to it. Nationals have a really fun young team, so not going to be a walk in the park by any means. Should be a fun series in Washington. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Have a good one.